We begin this hour's news in the U.S. American protesters have rallied in Washington, D.C., calling for the closure of the Guantanamo Bay prison.
January 11th is the 15th anniversary of the opening of Guantanamo Bay as it stands today. Over 700 men have been detained there since the Bush administration, and most of them, a high percentage of them have never been charged with a crime, and of the 55 men who still remain, a large amount of them have been cleared for release for many, many years. And so we know that torture only creates more violence rather than eliminating violence.
Activists dressed in Guantanamo-style prison suits marched outside the Supreme Court and staged an anti-torture demonstration. They demanded an end to the indefinite detention of about 60 men who are still behind bars at the facility. A number of the activists were arrested by police for staging an unauthorized protest. Later in the day, they tried to deliver a petition with 60,000 signatures to the U.S. Senate, but the Senate staff rejected the letter of protest. The closure of the Guantanamo prison was one of the main campaign promises of outgoing U.S. President Barack Obama in 2008. For more on this story, we go live to Brisbane, Australia, to talk to Max Igan, radio host and a political commentator. Mr. Igan, thank you so much for being with us. So for 8 years, the Obama administration has failed to address the detentions at Guantanamo as the urgent human rights issue that it is. Instead, its a culture of secrecy and insularity has enabled international human rights norms to be routinely overridden. What do you think is the reason for that? Why did Obama fail to close Guantanamo during his term in office as he had promised?
Well, the interesting thing is that all of the prisoners that are still in Guantanamo Bay, most of them, if not all of them, are cleared of any charges against them and were cleared for release many years ago, some as long as 2010. You know, really long time these people have been in there. One prisoner was in there for 13 years, wrote his memoirs last year. And I think that if these prisoners are released, the stories that these prisoners are going to tell is going to be a huge source of embarrassment for the United States. And so they're finding it very difficult to release these people. There's also the fear that they may turn into terrorists, because this is what happens when you imprison someone and torture them for 13 years. I mean, Guantanamo Bay flies in the face of everything America claims about freedom or democracy or trying to spread truth or help the people anywhere around the world. It flies in the face of anything to do with international law, and that's the reason it can't exist on US shores. It has to exist off US shores so the United States can routinely break the law and have this open torture facility and not be subject to their own legal system. It's an absolute disgrace. And I think if the people are released from Guantanamo Bay, it's going to be a huge embarrassment for the United States.
Mr. Igan, as you said, many of the detainees at Guantanamo Bay prison are held there without charge or trial. They have been held there for years, for indefinite periods of time, and that definitely flies in the face of international rules and regulations and norms of human rights, for sure. What do you think will happen to the prison? Well, Obama failed to close it down as he had promised, and it seems that Trump has no intention of closing it down anytime soon. What do you think will happen to Gitmo under Trump?
I'm hoping that he will close it down. With enough public pressure, I think he will. If he intends to drain the swamp the way he says, and this is most definitely part of the swamp. You know, if they want to find a use for Guantanamo Bay, they should put people like Dick Cheney and Hillary Clinton in there, and people that are responsible for this war on terror, and people who are responsible for this open torture facility existing in the first place. You know, Obama was elected really basically on a platform of barefaced lies. He hasn't done anything that he said he was going to do. If you look at the amount of bombs he's dropped on foreign nations, it's about one bomb every 20 minutes of his entire 8-year presidency. It's absolutely disgraceful. This man was given the Nobel Peace Prize. He's failed to do anything that he promised to do. And Guantanamo Bay is a very, very glaring statement of that fact. This place needs to be closed down. It is my great hope that enough pressure will be put on the Trump administration and he will see the necessity for this to happen.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Igan. Max Igan, radio host and political commentator, joining us live out of Brisbane in Australia.